Hello, my name's Alex Simpson, and this is my persuasive speech with my topic being relationship between violent video games and people and kind of how that affects people in many different ways. So, when it comes to violent video games, we kind of see that as something, well, when you first hear it, it's kind of something that doesn't really have a good result kind of in its name, hence the name violent or the term violent. You kind of hear that, then it's in a parent's case, a parent will hear violent video game and automatically think, no, I won't purchase this for my son or daughter, and such like that. So when you hear stuff like that, it usually isn't a good sign. And if you're wanting to get a game or not, when your parents get involved in stuff like that. But violent video games do have a impact on people, that's for sure. The more involved that you are with violent video games, the more affected you are by the negative aspects and loads of violence that certain game contains, or whatever game you're trying to purchase contains. There's been a lot of research to provide evidence with this case. And research has shown that just 10 to 20 minutes of playing violent related video games has increased so much activity and signals to the brain that are associated with anxiety and emotional reactions and behaviors included. It just kind of ups your anxiety and emotional reactions the more you play that specific game and the more you become involved with it. And the amount of hours that you build up upon that game and such. Playing video games is something that people are not going to stop doing. Like, I can say for myself, as an 18-year-old, I do play video games, and I don't play a crazy amount, but I can say that I'm not just going to stop playing because I enjoy it and I have fun playing it with my friends and such. But, like, video games is something that people aren't just going to stop doing because it gives people that dopamine release when you play that game. The more you become involved with that specific game. I mean, whatever game that becomes popular, those that get involved and super into it just get that dopamine rush, and that allows them to like continue playing the game and like get more involved in it and such, and getting their friends involved and all that. So yeah. Playing video games for a long time has been proven to build up aggression and show a significant increase in overall activity to the brain. So, like, video games really, the brain is very involved with video games, and it's very affected when it comes to, like, violent video games. Like I said, it builds up aggression, just from attacking people, because in most games there's like you attack something or other people, other live people, and that just affects your brain and stuff, and it just shows a significant increase in overall activity in your brain. Not even when the brain is awake and active, but it also has an impact on the brain when you were sleeping and the brain is in default mode network. It just kind of adding more to the brain on how it affects that. For those that do play an excessive amount of video games, though, they tend to show more emotion to images or events that involve gun attacks or any type of shooting involvement than showing emotion towards sick children or a dying loved one or pet. So what this is kind of saying is kids that play an excessive amount of video games are more likely to show more emotion or a more reaction to something that involves guns, violence, any type of shooting, rather than like showing that type of emotion towards like a sick child, like on their deathbed, or like about to put a dog down or something. So that comparison isn't very good, and it's leaning towards the side that you don't want to be showing your emotions to, because who's not going to show emotion to a dying kid? And it has been shown that playing video games can desensitize those to seeing more aggressive behaviors and have such a decrease on pro-social behavior such as helping others when in need, or just having empathy for others in general. Also, change associated with the brain in men who played violent video games for just 1 week, such as cognitive function and emotional control, and how that affected the adults played in just that 1 week. So when they tested men that played video games for a week, it showed that their emotional control and cognitive function had such an impact and such an increase in activity just from 1 week of playing video games. And you add the violent part to the video game, and that will just increase the emotion more and how you react to things in a negative way, and just in a way that messes up your brain and how you see things and react to things, more so in your future and such. But I kind of want to talk about how just the aggression part, because I know some people will be like, hey, violent video games aren't going to make you more aggressive. It's how you yourself, because you can control it, and it's how you yourself kind of put yourself out there into that game and how you respond to it and act outside of the game. Which I get is true, but it's like the more you get involved in it, some people just don't understand the more you get involved in it, the different you'll act during it. Or just outside of video games in general, like your social life, how you just become angry at things that you used to not become so emotional about at one point, but then you start to obtain those more aggressive personality side of yourself when just doing things outside, whether that's with family or your friends and such, and just how your emotions you just have a really, I don't really know if it's bad. I guess you can say just not good emotion control, and how you can just have outbursts and such just from playing a violent video game, which is something that everybody should be familiar with. So when it comes to violent video games, there is no doubt that they affect people in some way, kind of how I mentioned before. There's definitely going to be an effect. The more you play, the worse it gets for those people. It affects some people more than others, but when it comes down to it, I feel like it's best to limit video games as much as we can and maintain a stable brain kind of network and power and strength in our brain, rather than increase unnecessary activity and emotion in our brain and just create unnecessary stress for ourselves. Violent video games have an impact on people in a negative manner. They create unnecessary aggression, unnecessary stress and anxiety in our lives, and mess with our emotions and how we use them in any given situation. So I feel like I made my case, and that'll wrap up my persuasive speech. Thank you for listening.